Hey, Broncos country. Welcome to another edition of, what's the name of this podcast again?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, Elisa. It's funny that you asked that because we had a name, Altitude Adjustment. It made a nice run, I thought. September 2024 to September 2024. Even like September 2nd, 2024 to September 4th, 2024. We learned that is the name of an existing Broncos podcast. We had no idea, certainly no ill intent there. I spoke the other day with the hosts of that show, Patrick and Mario, and love what they're doing over there. Was unintentional. We talked about maybe keeping the name and just having kind of given them some love, but we've decided to just change because it had a great run. Maybe a moment of silence there for Altitude Adjustment.
Hold on. All right. So
Okay.
what is the new name?
Altitude Advantage.
Ooh.
Yeah, even better.
Altitude Advantage.
Yeah.
I like it.
Like a little edge, Teams come to Mile High, they're struggling. So we got an altitude advantage here in Denver. Elisa, if this is somebody else's podcast name, I'm sorry, we're just going forward with it. So I'll change. I'll change once. I'm not changing twice. But yes, again, no intent there. But we do want to be good. We respect everybody's space in this market and what they're doing. So we are shifting to Altitude Advantage, and we're never changing the name again.
No, it's done. It's a wrap. It's done. Well, and we missed the opportunity to do. You have to say it again. Say it again. What's the name?
Altitude Advantage. Yeah, we almost forgot about that.
Almost. It's the way to just bring it in.
That's true. And it's sad that we have to do that today because there's so much to get to.
That's true. It was a pretty busy day here at the facility, but I know, when we did our first episode, we had some pretty good feedback on it, right? We
got some good feedback. The people liked it.
Shout out to the people.
Shout out to Broncos country. One of the things we want to do, which is something we did on the neutral zone way back when, was read some YouTube comments. We're going to do the same thing. To be clear, we only read the nice ones. So
I was going to say, you're brave because I try not to read the comments.
Bad idea to go into the YouTube comments ever, but I do it. I get on. You might wonder why I look so ridiculous right now with my hair.
He was sweating, guys. He was sweating with the name change, and he was, it's kind of ridiculous.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you can see on my quarter zip, still love a good quarter zip, I'm perspiring, and it's definitely not because of the hurricane force winds and rain outside. It's because I was just so stressed about this. But we're going to read some YouTube comments. Like I said, we're only going to read the good ones. So if you want to leave a mad one, you can. It boosts our engagement, but I'm just not going to read it. Okay, from Alexis Saucedo 5526, it doesn't get more Broncos country than Elisa Hernandez. 2 exclamation point emojis. So that was nice.
I know it's real with the 2 exclamation points.
19 likes on that comment. That's pretty nice.
19 is actually my lucky number.
Ooh, so nobody else like it. Nobody else like it. From Shogun, I don't know what the rest of this is, but Shogun, really cool to see a podcast back in a new form. Elisa sounds like a great addition. Not going to lie, the level of disrespect to not mention him leaving the team. Oh my gosh, guys, Phil's my guy. Phil's been my guy. He's going to be my guy. He knows we're good. The neutral zone had a great run, but we're excited to do something new.
Shout out to Phil.
Shout out to Phil. Uber-tastical22 said, have you ever seen Miles and Aric in the same room?
Hold on. Can we just stop real quick? Uber-tastical? That's pretty fantastic. Cool.
It says tastical, I promise. Yeah, never.
It's a kid's show, Aric.
Never seen Miles and me in the same room. That's a good point. Harold Sanchez says, welcome to Broncos country, Elisa. Good show.
Appreciate that.
D-Ray 23322. Looking forward to see how this show grows through the years. Always great to have a Broncos podcast. Willie Mendoza 9956 says, welcome to Broncos country, Elisa. Love her personality.
You guys.
Some guy with a lot of letters in the name and not in really any order says, love the idea but need timestamps. So we're getting there. The last one was kind of just a vibe check.
Yeah.
Eric Blackman 1975. I grew up in LA and I'm a Broncos, Dodgers, and Lakers fan. Good stuff. I think that maybe that was your burner.
Shout out whatever.
Maybe that was your burner.
First of all, I would have commented a lot more about me. It was my burner.
User ZR4KM5NS8T. Lots of chit chat, not much real info. That's kind of the vibe. That's what we're gonna do.
That's the vibe. We're just gonna talk. I mean, we're 5 minutes in. What have you learned?
You've learned we got a new name. It's Altitude Advantage.
See, dropping knowledge.
J. Prez Bronk, just a few more here. J. Prez Bronk, a longtime listener of the Neutral Zone. He's gonna be one of our biggest fans, I think. Plot twist: Phil is Miles now. It's possible. I can't reveal what's going on. Riley 3333 Elisa, love your energy. I'm excited to hear you guys give more insight to my Broncos this season. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
That is what we're here for. I will say we did get a lot of comments on the first episode, given that we were kind of just, vibe checking, seeing what, letting Broncos country know what we were going to be talking about. Trust me, we will get into some stuff. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
With this.
Last one was somebody.
What we got?
We got one more here. Ivan Sports 95. Elisa's so charming. I randomly love horses so much too. Shout out from Cali. So, and with a horse one.
Hey, you already know me. As soon as I see Miles, as soon as I see Thunder, you've lost
It's
me.
over. It's over.
My attention is no longer on you.
So head over to the Broncos official YouTube channel if you want to leave a comment on the next episode of Altitude Advantage, which is the only name this show has ever had. And now let's talk some football.
Let's talk some football because we do have an advantage here.
Oh,
being,
look at that. That's smart.
Little transition there.
It wouldn't make sense if we said we have an adjustment now.
We had to adjust, and now we have an advantage.
Okay.
That's the unofficial slogan. But we had a pretty busy day today here at the facility. Obviously, we're shifting our gears to week 1, facing Seattle on the road. A lot has been talked about the crowd noise and everything, but all eyes are on Bo Nix. It is Bo time. We have given our initial thoughts on him, but what do you think are the keys to just his success? Obviously, everybody wants him to go out there. You remember you said you want touchdowns first week.
I did say that. Quick sidebar. I think it's going to be key for us to not remind each other of what we said because we're going to be wrong. We're going to be wrong often, and I don't want to be reminded of that.
What? You're never wrong.
But,
and technically, that was just a manifestation.
Get someone to clip that out.
That was a manifestation.
I'll save that for some point. I'm sure we'll need it. I think, so Bo talked on Wednesday, and one of the things that stood out to me during the preseason, Elisa, was he adjusted when he didn't play so well. So in training camp, early in training camp, he throws a pick, comes back and throws 2 or 3 touchdowns. Against the Colts, he was a little, I thought a little anxious in the pocket maybe early. His first couple throws were a little off target. Comes back, finds Cortland Sutton, leads a scoring drive. And really just settled in nicely. And so I asked him, when you're in these games and things aren't going well, how do you adjust? And what is it? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it something schematic? And he said sometimes it can be a mix of all of that, and you just got to figure out what it is. And the good teams and the good players figure out how to do that. And so what I'm interested in seeing, Elisa, is that when the Broncos go to Seattle this Sunday, it's going to be loud. It's a tough place to play. It's a good defensive system, at least, from Mike McDonald coming over from Baltimore. How does Bo adjust when things don't go well? Because as he said, you're not going to score every single possession. I mean, if he does, we'll talk about it on Monday, and it'll be fun. We'll be fired up. But probably not going to happen on every single possession. So if you go 3 and out, if you stopped in the red zone and held to a field goal, if you throw an interception, how do you respond? And everything I've seen from Bo so far has suggested he's going to do that really well. But that's what I want to see. And obviously, as we've talked about, it helps if your running game is good. It helps if your defense plays well. But a lot of this, see, I'm getting so excited. I'm like knocking the mic all over the place. A lot of this is just how does he adjust to the ups and downs of the game? That mental toughness, Sean Payton has talked about it so much as being one of the things that drew the Broncos to Bo. What does it look like in Seattle?
Well, I think that leadership is showing in a lot of ways on this team, but he gave a lot of credit to the Seahawks when he opened up. Like he's very aware of the matchup he's going into. He knows this is not going to be a walk in the park. He understands this is not going to be one of those games where he can just go out and it's going to be given to him. First of all, when you're a rookie like this, when you're a rookie that's highly talked about, everybody is going to want to make a play on you. Everyone's going to want to give you that welcome to the NFL moment, and they want to give it to you week 1. And I feel like, like you said, like that poise that he's kind of given and what this team has been able to kind of surround himself with, he's been able to find that success in the preseason, show a lot in practice. But I guess as a rookie, when you go into this, did he talk about kind of like the nerves of that first start?
Yeah, well, I think what he did say was, hey, you only get one chance to make a first impression in the NFL. You only get one chance to have your first game, and so you want to go out there and make the most of it. I don't know that he has talked like a ton about butterflies in any of these moments, just because I think he feels prepared. And the preparation we've heard so much about with Bo is going to, I think, put him in a good spot to succeed. I do like what you said about, hey, everybody's gunning for you here as a first-round pick. And especially, the Broncos nationally are not getting a ton of attention, but the attention they are getting is on Bo. And so a lot of eyes are going to be on, hey, how does Bo Nix perform in week 1? I think he can't let it get too big, can't let it become all about, hey, I've got to play out of my mind. Just do what the system tells you to do. I think he mentioned it kind of with the play calling and the game planning of, I'm a rookie right now, so I kind of go out there and do what I'm told. And, I don't know that there's anything wrong with that, just because it puts you in a position where Sean Payton's going to know how to call this game, help you succeed. Again, there's going to be ups and downs, but can you fight through those and settle in, lead this team to points? I think that encouraged me in the preseason. And granted, we know it's preseason, but again, as we said on the last episode of Altitude Advantage, which is what it was called before, all you can do is play against the guys you're playing against. And Bo led scoring drives. It was a long time ago now. I'm old. So like 6 of 7 possessions, I think, in the preseason. And the only one was a fumble that wasn't his. So when your main job is to score points and you're scoring points in the preseason, that's encouraging for week 1 of the regular season.
And I think also when you look at this team, what the defense has been able to do, how their mentality is, they understand that this is their quarterback and they have to do their job on the field to make his job that much easier when he is out there on offense. And Pat has talked about Bo and his leadership and the way that he's been able to just kind of walk in and have a aura of himself to just be like, wow, like this guy knows what it takes to win. Pat has said he's seen him win. And so he's really excited to see what he does once the season begins. Now, I know that Pat is super excited to get the season started, but he's also really excited because he secured a 4-year extension with the Denver Broncos. We were there for the signing this morning. He had his girlfriend and his cousin there, and he's actually FaceTimed his mom on the phone. So it was a really special moment for them, and I think it's a really great move by this organization to have him. Sean Payton had said that the timing was right and that he's a talented player and they had to secure it because it's one of the harder positions to find in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. You wake up this morning in the news and you're excited because, at least for me, you see how this, and I asked Pat about this today on Wednesday, you see sometimes what happens with really talented players, and it takes some time to get these deals done. And unfortunately, that sometimes leads to guys heading into the final season of their deal. It leads to guys holding out. It leads to trade rumors, all that sort of thing.
Distractions. It leads to distractions.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think back to when Justin Simmons, before he signed his extension here, he obviously played the year on the franchise tag. And it wasn't, there were some questions about, was he going to be back or not? And so to avoid all of that with a player like Pat Surtain and just get this done early, because again, for people that don't remember, you can't do an extension with a guy until after his 3rd year. So this is as soon as the Broncos could possibly have done this extension. It was critical to get this done, I think, and just, again, like you said, put that all behind you. You now have extended Quinn Miners and Pat Surtain here in the last, let's call it month and a half. And you've got 2 members from that 2021 draft class that are now foundational pieces of what you're doing moving forward. So big picture, just in terms of not letting drama seep in, not letting distractions seep in, getting this done now and not saying, hey, we'll deal with it after, the 2024 season when it's really getting tight now. You're going into your 5th-year option year. Like, things are getting a little more real. This is about as smooth it feels like as it could have possibly gone. And that's really exciting to see if you're a Broncos fan, that, hey, this never got to a bad point. Everybody's happy here.
Yeah, everybody's happy. And again, like head coach Sean Payton really emphasized that is one of the hardest positions to play. And I think for them to lock him down, he kept saying, like, he's a talented player. It was almost like he kind of looked like it's a no-brainer, guys. Like, he is the guy that we want. Again, he is such a pillar in this defense, in the locker room. And to your point, the captains just got announced, and 2 of those captains were assigned to an extension. So what does that say about the way that this leadership is going?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That, and we'll get to captains in just a second. But the fact that your leaders are your good players is encouraging, but it's also something that, like, you've still got to earn that leadership role. Because Pat's been a really good player for a long time now. This is his 1st year as a captain. He's finally getting that chance to to step into that role now with Justin Simmons gone, with Kareem Jackson gone. Bradley Chubb was one of the former captains. Like, he is that older guy now that has to lead this team. And I think it works well when your best players are also those leaders and they're kind of your foundational pieces moving forward. And that's a good sign for Denver. Now you've got to go out on the field and prove it. And certainly with Pat, he's got a big test this weekend in Seattle against DK Metcalf. A couple of years ago, held him to 36 yards when the Broncos played in Seattle. That was Pat's second year, and DK was like an established dude at that point. Yeah. So that was when I remember a bunch of DBs tweeting during that game, like, man, Surtain is the real deal.
Yeah.
And so he's got a big test, and you mentioned helping Bo. This defense has to come to play on Sunday in Seattle because week one is always tight. There's always something that's like a little unexpected. Can the Broncos defense make plays when they need to earn a win for this team? Because last year at the beginning of the season, we know how tough it was at times. Obviously, played pretty well against the Raiders to start the year.
Yeah.
But then late in the Washington game was not great. Certainly the Miami game we don't talk about. And then it just, even against Chicago, like, it took until the end of that midway through the third quarter or so to like flip that switch. Can the Broncos defense start there? And I think a lot of that, Elisa, is up to Pat, because this Broncos defense has talked about, and Vance Joseph has talked about, moving Pat and putting him in positions to make more plays. And I think Pat could set the tone. He had one pick all of last year. And granted, picks are not the only thing that guys do. And he can, as Sean Payton said, he can be a matchup nightmare, corners like that, because you've got to stay away from a side of the field, or you've got to game plan differently. But there's a reason. You just don't get the ball thrown your way.
Exactly. So you can't get stats when they're literally making sure the ball never faces your direction.
But there are going to be times where the Seahawks have to go to DK, for example. And so if the Broncos can put him in position to make those plays, and if Pat can, say you get 3 opportunities a game, can Pat turn one of those this week into a pick? I think if he can do that, it would set a really good tone for the year, just in terms of like, hey, Pat's back to being that playmaking guy, or this is a new level of Pat Surtain. And that, I think, not only would make a big difference this week, but just in terms of what can this team be defensively this season.
And they asked him, with this extension, is there added pressure? Like, how do you go out there and make sure you perform? And he basically said, like, I'm used to performing under this pressure. And for me, he said that it was a burden off his shoulders, that this deal is done. It's behind him now. And, you can really just focus on football. To your point, what you said earlier, you're not dragging it on. It's not a distraction. There's no rumors. You're locked in. You're the guy. And he said he can't wait to go out there and play his heart out, because it's been a very fun 24 hours for him. You signed this big contract, and you also get named team captain for the first time in your career, which is something that he does not take lightly. From what you've seen from Pat over the past couple of years, how have you seen him kind of develop to now finally get that call?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think one, it's just that it's your turn, right? Like, Justin Simmons was that guy for a long time. Kareem Jackson was that guy. Dating back before Pat, like Vaughn was that guy. DeMarcus, like, this is the time. And I think previously it's been like, like, Pat's not a captain. That's interesting. Like, and he's admitted, I need to be a little bit more vocal of a leader. I need to lead these guys and take on that role this year. And to his credit, he did it, and guys bought in and are listening and following. And there are different types of leadership, right? Like, you don't have to be the rah-rah vocal guy. And I think Pat is definitely a little more on the soft-spoken side, but we've seen everybody talk about how much of a leader he is. So excited for him, because you can tell to guys that this really does mean a lot. I mean, Cortland Sutton is a 4-time captain now, 4 years in a row. And just for kind of context sake, the previous 2 years, the Broncos didn't do season-long captains. So it's not like all of a sudden he just like turned it on one day, but
he's like, I'll do it today.
I'll do it today. Exactly. Like, he was talking about how much it meant to him, and that it's something he never takes for granted, and leading this team. And Sean Payton talked about how valuable he is to this locker room. And I like this group because you've got the older guys like Singleton and Sutton. I know Sean Payton said age doesn't necessarily play into it, but I do like that there's a mix of Singleton and Sutton. And then you've got Miners and Surtain that are year 4, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got Bo Nix. and that's pretty cool. And
yeah, he's the young buck.
And obviously Will is a veteran as well, that leads that special teams group. But
Alex Singleton.
yeah, exactly. Him and, having him and Sutton as those older guys, I think that's important. And having the mix of leadership should work well for this team, because you're going to go through some tough times during an NFL season. And these are the guys that are going to be called upon to help this team weather that storm. But Bo in particular is interesting, right? Because first rookie in a really long time to be named captain.
Yep. Very, very long time. Do you know the year?
1967.
He gave me that number, so I knew he knew, guys. But shout out Floyd Little, because that was the last time that happened. And I think, to your point, I feel like when you have a group like this, you're going to go, like you said, through a lot of tough times, a lot of ups and downs. But I think the important thing to realize is, like, you're going to have different viewpoints at all times, right? So if it's something that maybe Bo can speak on, he's there. You have a perspective of Alex Singleton. You have different perspective, different positions. And I feel like the important thing to highlight too is that these captains were chosen by the players. These captains were chosen by their fellow teammates. And, Pat had said, it's one of those things that you realize, like, your teammates really value you as well. And so it just makes you want to go that much harder when you're in practice, go that much harder when you're on the field, really play your heart out. When you have these different perspectives, I feel like with a young team, I think you had mentioned it, it's important to have the young team, but the veteran guys are really what's going to drive the ship, when the frustration kind of hits in sometimes.
Yeah, or you're succeeding, right? And there's some guys too on this team that aren't captains that are going to be, I'm sure, called, like Mike McGlinchey was a captain last year, Riley Dixon, like those guys are also going to be called upon to Zach Allen to have that role, have that leadership ability. And I'm excited to see. I know I keep saying I'm excited, but it's like the season openers.
We are excited. Hold on. Don't say that like you're embarrassed. We are very excited.
You're right. And because there's all this unknown when a season opener arrives, but to have this group of guys leading the way, it just feels right. Feels nice.
Well, and Cortland Sutton, Sean Payne said that he believes that he had received the most votes from the team. And he said, the years really don't matter as much. It's really the personality and the hard work that Cortland puts in that is what guys gravitate to. It's not necessarily how long he's been in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I think it's impressive when you do that and you're a leader, because like and you've been in the league for a little bit, because people like Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, who are rookies, they look at Cortland and they say, this is a standard that's been set, not just when you're a rookie trying to make it into this league, but down the road. Like, it remains important to have those traits. And so that's why I think the veteran element of it matters a little bit. But we'll see how that translates to the field in Seattle. Elisa, what are you maybe most excited to see, or if you have a key to victory on Sunday, what are you thinking for this week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my attention is on Bo Nix, because one thing that he's been able to do very well is not let the moment be bigger than him. When he got named team captain, when he got named the starter, it's always like, it's really great. Thank you so much. I got to go to work now. Like, it's very mellow, right? But it's almost like you're almost waiting to see when he's going to get those jitters, when he's going to get nervous. And I think for me, what I'm excited about, I'm really excited for that first completion. That's what I need, because I feel like once you get that, you can breathe. And I feel like he's been holding his breath for so long. He's calm, he's cool, collective. And he mentioned, like, being named captain is an honor. It's a privilege. He does understand that it's a big deal, but he's really trying to block out the whole, it's the first time since 19 this, and it's the first, start for a rookie in a regular season game since John Elway. He's trying to block all that stuff out and just be Bo. So I think what I'm looking forward from him is keep that same mentality, right? Keep that same poise. And I think that he has it. I think game day is going to be fun for him. I think it's going to be like, wow, like, I'm really here. They all have that moment. Every rookie has that moment where they walk on the field and they're like, this is my job. This is my life. Like, I am coming out in front of all these fans that want to see me lose, and I'm going to go out there and do what I do. So I think for me, that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think the key to success for him is just to stay in the same mindset that he's been in. And to your point, he showed that when he did do a mistake, he was able to bounce back from that quickly, talking on the sideline, looking at film, whatever he needs to do. And I think once you get that first completion, you just run, okay, one foot in front of the other. That's all you have to do. And I think for me, that's the key to success for Bo, because I trust this defense. I trust what they're able to do. I trust the receivers. They have a lot of confidence in him. They've showed the good chemistry that they've been able to develop in the offseason. And so for me, with Bo, I feel like he understands, like, everyone has your back in this building, and just go out there and be Bo Nix.
I like it. Yeah, I'm excited to see, and I don't want to just say, like, if he can do it, because one week doesn't define a career, right? Like, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks struggle as a rookies and then figure things out.
You remember, when did John Elway get his first touchdown?
Week 3.
Week 3, guys. And he got sacked about twice in his first game. I think he threw an interception in his first game.
It didn't go well.
Yeah, it did not go well. And obviously, John Elway is John Elway. So there's a little context for Broncos country there.
But, like, all that said, I am, like, just how prepared is he from the very beginning? Like, I'm excited to see that. He has a chance to become the last rookie to win their week 1 debut at rookie quarterback, was Darnold back in 2018. Toss up a little.
That's right.
Toss up a little fight on.
A little fight on.
Yeah.
Always. I don't know if the camera's on me, but if it is, fight on.
Yeah, get the fight on camera. So he's got a chance to do that. And we've heard a lot about the maturity and the poise, and it's just, how does he respond? How does he kick things off? I think one drive, I go back and forth, because it's like, one, I've been really impressed by his ability to bounce back, but also like, this feels like a game that if the first drive goes really well, like, it could just set the tone for the game. I think I want to see the rest of the team. Pat Surtain told me yesterday, or as we're recording this, the day before we're recording this, that he doesn't view it as having to pick this, like, any slack up or like play better because Bo's a rookie. He just views it as like, we have this certain standard. But I do think there is this idea that, like, the defense probably needs to go out and play well. Yeah. And we've seen these Sean Payton teams be well coached, and a year ago win games that they wouldn't have won in 2022. Can you go out there and play penalty free, turnover free, win the turnover battle? Yeah. Like, all those things that are important anyway are super important on the road in a rookie's first start. Especially if it's a struggle early, and who knows? I mean, Bo could go out there and just light it up. But if it takes a drive or takes a couple drives to get going, can everybody else step up around him, play smart football, play clean football, and give this team a chance? And then, Elisa, we've seen this team practice so much situational football in training camp, in the preseason, obviously, and they succeeded in those areas in the preseason. But like, if there's a chance right before halftime, or the defense has to make a play late in the game, can they step up and make those plays? Because that's what, ultimately, it's a close league. Everybody's designed to be just about as good as each other. Like, those things to decide who wins and who loses. So, Bo doesn't need to go out there and play out of his mind. He just needs to do what he, like you said, just be Bo, and then we'll see what happens.
I mean, when you kind of look back to that, and look, I know, don't get excited because I'm going to say the word Super Bowl. But when you look at the Super Bowl team, when we won Super Bowl 50, when the team won Super Bowl 50, you look at what Peyton Manning was doing in a lot of those games. A lot of those games, he wasn't trying to do the most either, right? He was trusting his defense, so he was kind of just managing the game the best that he could. I mean, obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. He's Peyton Manning. I'm not comparing him to Bo, but what I'm saying is, even someone as talented, as great as Peyton Manning knew when to do more and when just to do enough. Like, when just to kind of hit my targets, do what I'm told, and trust my defense to kind of really pick up the slack. But with this number 1 defense in the league that year. Yeah,
I mean, obviously that's an all-time defense, and I don't think
no fly zone. Shout out.
Exactly. I don't think anyone's expecting. Well, maybe internally they expect, but like, nobody is comparing this defense to that defense either. You got to prove that on the field.
Right.
But I think your point about like not trying to overdo it is something that can apply to everybody.
Yeah.
Now I will say, like, obviously Peyton was limited by injuries that year. He was getting to the end of his career. Mm-hmm. Like, there are things that Bo can do physically that I'm excited to see. And what flashes can he show? Like, does he make a play with his legs? Which I think that could be a big part of Sunday. Just
that dual threat.
Exactly. He can do that now.
Yeah.
Can he make a play with his legs? Does he find like a downfield completion on his second read in the middle of the field? Like those sorts of things that
scramble out of the pocket, get that like, crucial first down.
That like the Broncos maybe missed a year ago or the last few years.
Yeah.
Can Bo make that happen? And with a rookie, I feel like you're looking for one. You do want the consistency because you want to win, but what are like the signs that hey, this can be a guy long term, and can we win in the process?
So looking at this, what do you think? Do you think the pressure is on Seattle to win?
Oh, I don't know. I
just feel like because you said it, the Broncos are not getting national attention right now, and so I feel like for the Broncos, I feel like the pressure is on Seattle.
I feel like, and I like understand the question, and I think it's a totally valid question, but I just think like for this team, it doesn't matter because like if they beat Seattle, and like obviously we hope they do, nationally they're not going to get much appreciation for that either. And so like all offseason they haven't worried about that stuff, and they have acknowledged like they know what people are saying and they look forward to proving them wrong. But I don't know that they're worried about things like pressure or who's favored or anything like that. Like I think just go out and be worried about you. And I think that the best teams around the league, and I've talked about this a lot before, like on previous versions of this podcast, probably back in like the altitude adjustment days, it's like which teams can just have their identity and be true to themselves. And if it's, this offense operating quickly and efficiently, if it's this defense, being better at stopping the run and trying to funnel things to Pat Surtain, like, I don't know that the rest of it matters. And the like national narratives about who's going to make the playoffs or anything. Just like it's got to start with just being the best team you can be and seeing where that leads. And I'm not saying that 6 weeks from now that's not worth talking about, but it feels early for this team that we're quite frankly just going to see what they're all about. And Sean Payton has said, I'm excited to see where they stack up, but like, I don't know that I'm ready to do like the big picture stuff. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think you made a good point. Like this team I feel like they've really bought into everything that's been going on here. All the changes, all the culture changes, the winning ways. And, there's good in leaning back into that and the history and what Sean Payton is able to accomplish, what these players individually have been able to accomplish. But Baron Browning had said it earlier this week. He said, you get to a point where you stop wondering what you can do better and almost like how does what you're doing right now fit into the pieces of the bigger picture? And I think that's very, very insightful for him to think, because obviously as a guy, you want the stats, you want this, you want that. But when you start realizing like I am doing the best that I can, and instead of being focused on me and like what can I do to get me, it's like what am I already doing that's making this team better? Because sometimes you can like almost deter yourself, but he's really big on camaraderie. This whole team is really, and to your point, I think they're doing a good job of staying within themselves and staying as a unit. And just like I try to get you to answer that, even if you try to get them to answer something, they'll be like,
I did a good job there.
I'm with the team.
I said, nope. Nope.
We said, nope. But you know what? That's all the time we have.
That's all we got.
Today.
We got to get to Seattle.
That's all. We got to get to Seattle. We got to get things going so we can come back for another great edition of
Altitude Advantage.
Altitude Advantage. There
There
you go. Altitude Advantage. Thank you so much for listening. I am your team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. That is our lead writer, Aric DiLalla. And we'll be back for another amazing episode. Right?
That's right.